Shabbat Shalom, Mispaha. This is Rabbi Simon. Okay, so another wonderful week that we had. And before we begin, we give thanks. I give thanks to the Abba for protecting us, for guiding us, for providing for all our needs during this week and the coming days ahead, for our provisions, for going out, for coming in, for shelter, for a roof on our heads. We give thanks. And Father, we thank you that you take care of our needs. Father, we thank you for healing our people, keeping them healthy, keeping them fed. And Father, I petition and pray for the peace of Jerusalem and for the peace of the whole world. I pray for the fighting, the war that is going on in Israel, for sound leadership, for reasonable men, and for sympathetic hearts and minds, for these things to be brought in peace so that people can coexist amongst each other without hatred. I thank you that you've given us the ability to reason, to think, and you've given us your eternal word, the Torah, that we may use that for our guide, for our forever ways. We thank you. We thank you. Baruch Hashem. Amen. Amen. So it's been a wonderful week. As an update, the monies that are collected so far, I use that to purchase the small washing machine. And don't think it's a washing machine like in America. It's not. It's a very simple structure of a machine. And those people who live in the South Asian side, they'll understand what I'm saying. It's a small machine that allows you to put the clothes in as a top opener. You put your clothes in, you put the powder in, and then it washes the clothes, and it runs a wash cycle. And then when it stops, you take the clothes out, you put it into a little spinner thing. It's like a plastic spinner. And the machine is even made of plastic as well. And so you put it into the spinner, and then it spins it, and then it takes all the water out, and then you take the clothes up, and then you hang it on your wall or wherever. So that's how they kind of wash their clothes over here. I think the reason why many households over here in the East, they don't use the automatic machines, one, that they are very expensive. They can cost you anywhere between $500 to $700 for one machine, which is just a machine, not a dryer. And secondly, there is electrical shortages or spikes. So, there's danger that if there is a spike, it can damage the machine. So a lot of people at this end don't use automatic machines for that very reason. So they prefer the other ones, which are mostly manually controlled, and they prefer to wash their clothes and dry them outside and whatnot. But I guess if they had the regular electric current without fluctuations, I'm pretty sure if they had that controlled, then I'm sure that the households over here, those who could afford it, would probably use the automatic. But it's not always practical. I think that's the problem. So anyhow, the lady has that, but I think we're coming into a new month of December. So those who want to support her, she has, as I explained last time, she has a broken foot. She's not fully healed yet. She cannot go to her job, so she's still, the doctor told her to rest until it's fully healed, and that could take, in my estimation, we're not looking at her going back to work probably till next month. Maybe it could be sometime in January, or it could be end of January. So I think the very least what we could do for her is I would appreciate a support for her, to at least I can buy her some food for the month of December, and then maybe in the next time I ask you will be the month of January. So at least I think that will cover her for December, and that at least will get her through. And bills, the bills that she gets, and the last time I helped to pay the bill for the electric and the gas, and the bill amounted to, I think the bills being December is a cold month over here, I think we're looking at around, I'm guessing, around $100 for the bill, okay, to cover the electric and the gas. The food, I would say a little bit more, of course. I would say an estimation of food would be around $200. So those of you who are able, and those of you who have the ability to do so, please send in your support. Just mark it as food assistance. That would do it. I understand that, and thank you for that. Those of you who did assist, thank you very much. So now, moving on, as you know, Russia and Ukraine are still fighting the war. The updates on the U.S. front are that the U.S. is almost, I would say, or has run out of funds to support Ukraine with the war effort. Now, Russia, whatever the media says is one thing, but what's actually happening on the ground is another thing. And Russia is right now, as I understand it, has obliterated, I think obliterated is a reasonable word to use, has obliterated the military of Ukraine, is decimated. That's another fantastic word. It's decimated. Okay, they've decimated the military so much that Ukraine has run out of fighters. They're asking to recruit more people, and they've obviously run out of bullets, and they're running out of bullets and ammo. That's the one thing. Okay, so that's what they're asking for, and behind the front, Russia is telling that to the people, that they are destroying many of the targets in Ukraine. They've destroyed military equipment, tanks, planes, drones, you name it, they've destroyed it. Whatever the West has thrown in at Russia on that side has been destroyed. Now, similarly, on the Israeli front, I want to speak as a neutral bystander, okay? I'm not going to be biased to be on the one side or the other. Neutrally speaking, the Palestinian fighters have got, so far, they have destroyed many Israeli tanks. I think yesterday alone, they destroyed about 30 Israeli tanks and vehicles together. They killed quite a few of their soldiers because they put their videos out on whatever platform, on Telegram or whatever they post, Twitter maybe. And so this news has come out that they just come out of the tunnels, they strike the tanks or the soldiers, and they just run back into the tunnels. So far, they actually have the edge in the fighting. They're actually defeating Israel and humiliating Israel across the world. Every nation is looking at Israel, how Israel's military is being defeated by young kids carrying Kalashnikovs and carrying anti-tank, bazookas and things like that, of that nature. They even struck, I think yesterday, day before yesterday, a couple of days ago actually, they struck Dimona, the very protected site of Israel. And as a result, Israel's public, the Jews living in Israel, are furious because some of the hostages, when Israel bombed tunnels in Gaza, they actually ended up killing some of the hostages that were held over there. And so that didn't reverberate nicely with the public at home, because the public said, hey, what the heck are you doing? You're killing our own people in the guise of trying to Help us. And as I told you, the media likes to color things differently, but so far I want to just say this. From a non-biased view, Gaza as a territory was once lived by the Philistines. Prior to the Canaanite people living there, prior to the Philistines, even going back Abraham's time, before Abraham's time, Canaanites were living there. After those times, the Philistines took over those areas. They were known as a coastal people. That's where Gaza Strip is, if you look on the map. As I said earlier, according to my knowledge and according to historical evidence, Gaza was mostly occupied or inhabited by and owned by the Philistine people. Okay? Not the Palestinians as we know it today, of course. The Palestinians came later, but it was the Philistines that owned and lived there. And King David, of all kings of Israel, think about it, all the mighty kings of Israel, and this one king, young King David, he actually married a Philistine woman. So that's how he actually had a father-in-law living there as well. So make of it what you want to. Today you can make whatever claims you want to, that Israel owned it and Israel this and Israel that. No, Israel never owned it. Israel may have had wars. They did. They had many wars, many battles with the Philistines. Some they won, some they lost. And if you don't remember, I would ask you to go and check that we even at one time lost our ark. Yes, the Ark of the Covenant. The Philistines took it. And that story is also mentioned in the Bible. So, I, myself, what I see in this war and what I've read according to prophecy and what I've taught you according to prophecy is that these things have prophesied already in the past. I told you about the Strait of Hormuz. I've mentioned it in writing in the books, and you can read about some of the element of the prophecies in the hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls. You can purchase my books that are available on Amazon on prophecy, and you will find out the information that I've written many years ago, and that is right in front of your faces right now. Strait of Hormuz. American destroyer, American aircraft carrier was in the Strait of Hormuz a few days ago, and the Iranian boats and the Iranian drones came over it, and they told it and they ordered it. They ordered the helicopters that American flew over there. They ordered the helicopters to land, or they're going to shoot the helicopters down and they're going to sink their destroyer. Listen, you may not have heard of this, but we heard of it this end. And they said that we're going to shoot it down unless you land and turn around, and they did. And the American ship captain, they complied. They landed the helicopter and they turned the ship around and took it to international waters. Now that piece of sea, which is by the Gulf of Oman and Iran, it's a strategic 46-mile stretch that is very, very key. About 1/3 of the world's goods flow through that. That's 33% of world's goods flow through it. So American Navy, I believe, they run their ships in the international waters and they protect the goods ships that pass through there. But if Iran wanted to, and if Iran ended up in a war, Iran could shoot ships down like kites over there, and nobody will be able to do anything. So don't underestimate Iran. Iran is not your little baby that you can just go and waltz over. Look at what the Palestinian fighters are doing right now. Just look at it. People, lads, boys, young lads, wearing t-shirts and wearing broken plimsolls. They are knocking out Israeli tanks. And that, I think, that really, never underestimate people, because this is a war and this is a battle that's been ongoing for many years now. But again, we see these skirmishes and we see things in the past. In the past, the Israeli IDF got the better hand, but now they haven't. They've actually been shamefaced publicly across the world. Israel's army has been, shamed, if you really ask me, across the world and the east side, and that's really pity, because it's a pity because all of this war, all of these things could have been avoided totally. They could have simply, if the Palestinians didn't, if they took the people hostages. Sure, I'm not saying that was the right thing to do. Sure, I mean it's a nasty thing to do. It's nasty. It's not good. If your relative, if your mother, your father, your brother, your sister gets kidnapped, nobody likes it. Nobody's going to say that's great. It's not great. So what should have been done, as the Americans did negotiate the release of hostages, but Israel did not succeed in the release of the hostages. Therefore, America had to step in. And when America stepped in, America also got involved partially in the war, because Yemen started to fire missiles on American ships and on good ships, and also tried to capture and did capture some good ships worth billions of dollars of goods. And then America's own ships became in danger. And apparently it was stated that one of American ships and one of UK ships was struck. And I'm not sure how much damage was done, because that didn't really come out in the media. I don't know if the ships were lightly damaged. They said that the good ship that was struck was lightly damaged, and they mentioned that a destroyer was struck. They didn't mention what the damage was. There was no pictures issued. All of that went quiet across the media. So yes, they did acknowledge that a UK ship and a American ship of some kind, whether a military ship was hit, maybe had some light damage. So that was already reported. Okay, so some of the people are expecting for this to get worse, and they're expecting World War III to start. I myself, I'm not expecting World War III to start, because Iran has not fully acknowledged nor entered the war personally yet. Iraq hasn't, Yemen has, and America is refraining from attacking Yemen because it can destabilize the whole region and cause further conflict. So America's been pretty, I would say, wise in this state. And it is wise, personally, if you ask me, is wise to stay out. I do not think for a second, as an observer, I do not think that Bibi, who is known as Netanyahu, I don't think he's a good prime minister, okay? He's been caught in corruption many times. He has cases against him of corruption, and he hasn't been able to handle this case. The whole thing, and it's in front of you, everybody, all of you. You can see what is going on and how he's handling it, and he's not handled it very well. Okay, so that's where we are with the Israeli war. Now, I would still suggest to you to continue to pray for peace for both peoples, for the Palestinians and for the Jews. And there are Jews in Israel, and listen to this, there are Jews in Israel who want to leave Israel and go back to the countries they came from because of these things that have just happened. And I did state in my writings previously, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago when I wrote my books, I stated that there will come a time when some of these Jews will go back to the country they came from because of the conflict. And we are here today. Isn't that amazing? I wrote about this 15 years ago, and people were laughing at me. They were saying, well, how do you know this is going to happen? And you're just guessing it. I said, no, it's not a guess. It is actually evident. And I read the Bible prophecy, and I stated it clearly that it's going to happen, and much more is going to happen than what I've stated. So anyhow, we saw that now American embassy, I don't know if you know, the Americans out there, those from home, I don't think you maybe know, American embassy has refused to give visa for America to settlers, Jewish settlers coming to America. They refused them visa, and they put them on a ban list. You know why? Because they said they are responsible for violence against the Palestinian people normal folks. I'm not talking about fighters with guns. No, I'm talking about normal folks. They have been shooting them down. They have oppressing them. And America has taken note of that and said, we will not give you visas to come to America. So that's where that is. Now, I have heard of violence. I have heard of cases of violence of Jewish settlers against Palestinian ordinary people. I'm not talking about Hamas over here. I'm talking about normal Palestinian people. I have heard of it, that they have guns. They, hold up a gun to their head and say that my religion is better than yours. Say it, or I'm going to shoot you down. That is not Torah, by the way. The Torah does not tell us to hold a gun to somebody's head and say, my religion is better than your religion. Say it now, I'm going to shoot you down. That behavior, by the way, has happened over there. And they've done that, and that's an unfortunate thing. So let's continue to petition, continue to pray for these people, for a peaceful resolve, that the whole world, including the Jewish and the Palestinian people, can live in peace. And they are, have a right to do that. And of course there's a restoration of the 12 tribes, which is still yet future. But let's see where God leads us. So far, here we are, and we're still waiting for God to lead His people home, Baruch Hashem. So that's where we are. And the Parsha, for your information, the Parsha today is Genesis chapter 37, Yashev, and he dwelt. Now Yaakov dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. This is the genealogy of Yaakov. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. Now Israel, that is Jacob, loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was a wise son to him, and he made him a tunic of fine white linen. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Now Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they continued to hate him. He said to them, please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and indeed your sheaf stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, will you be king over us, or will you indeed have power over us? So their hatred continued for his dreams and for his words. Now, before I go into this a little bit more, I just want to say that I gave some of my students a ritual, some of my select students, I gave them a ritual to practice. And by the way, just to let you know on air, that ritual, when you practice it, please try to face the north when you do that, okay? And then report back results. Any results that you have, please do report back, because I like to know what kind of results you're getting. Thank you. Now, Jacob over here, he took Joseph as a favorite son. And what Joseph was doing, he was being very negative, and he was making spy type reports. He was like a spy, spying on his brothers and coming back to his dad and telling him, I saw Judah doing this, and I saw Reuben, he was, with that woman over there, is chatting her up, and he was kind of doing all these things. Whatever his brothers were doing, he was reporting back home and basically grassing them up, reporting them to his dad. And the dad, of course, saw Joseph as his favorite son, and he did not hold the others to the same standard of favoritism. And when the other brothers saw that the father favorited this son, they were very angry with Joseph. And then when Joseph started to tell his dreams that he was getting, which were a fact to happen in the future, and it was about not so much him being king over them, but being at least a ruler of sorts. And then that even infuriated the brothers more, that how can you, younger than us, just born recently, 17 years of age, how can you be ruler over us? So they hated them even more. Now what does that tell us? That tells us a number of things. Number one, do not go around parading negative reports about, family members. If you have family members and they're doing things which in your eyes might not be appropriate, then you go report them to whoever and you go start telling everybody, that's going to create a problem for you, because your family, whoever you're reporting, if that person finds out, they're going to be against you, they're going to hate you for that. So yeah, that's clear. What we are also revealed from here, that Joseph dreamed a dream. That means he was seeing a dream every day, the same dream. That also illustrates a point. When you go to bed at night and you see the same thing every night, like you might actually manually see it. Manually means that you deliberately dream a dream, like a visualization session, and you see yourself being a very rich man, a rich woman, then that dream is bound to come true. The more you continue to see it, the more you're going to make it true for yourself. As I've spoken to you many times, and I've said to you to imagine that you have $3 million to spend, and that you are, before you go to bed, or when you go to bed, you start imagining that you're spending that money. You're spending that money, some for business investment and other for your personal self. Some of the money you spend for personal self, maybe you buy a car, maybe you buy a house, maybe you buy a phone, makeup, perfume, etc. And other money that you spend on the house, if you're a woman. If you're a man, of course, you don't buy makeup, but you might still buy perfume, and you might get a phone or a laptop and get a house and car, etc. So that's why I keep telling you to do that, because the Bible, what the Bible is saying, what is it saying? That the dream that you dream every day will come true. So I encourage you to do that, okay? Now, there are habits. There are habits of rich people and there are habits of poor people. What are the rich people habits and what are the poor people habits? Let me give you some. Let me give you an idea. Poor people habits are that they're always complaining. They're always the victim. They're always being negative. And they always are saying that I don't have enough. And they're always saying that they will always be poor. Have you sat with a poor man or a woman and have you ever heard a positive report? I'm not sure if in America or in the other countries where you are, I don't know if you ever will come across that. But I'm pretty sure if you're living in India or if you're visiting India or some other countries in the East, you will come across that. Maybe if you sit down with a poor person, they're always complaining, they're always whining, they're always a victim, and the rich people are always the oppressor, even though not all rich people are bad. So they're in a victim mentality, and a victim mentality doesn't have to be necessarily a poor person. It could be a regular person in a victim mentality. A lot of black people in America today are in victim mentality. They're always a victim. They're always being oppressed. They're always, white people are always oppressing them, meaning that that's what they are thinking. They are thinking to themselves, many of the black folks in America are thinking that, oh, the white man is no good, he's a devil, and he oppressed us in the past and he's oppressing us now. That victim mentality is what keeps people from succeeding. So number one, bad habit. Do not have a victim mentality. Remove it. Today, right now, remove it. Number two, that is a bad habit. That bad habit will never lead to you becoming rich and you becoming self-sufficient and financially independent. So that habit has to go. What is a rich person's habit? Well, a rich person's habit is this, where you, as a person, see a problem, he sees an opportunity. And by he, I mean he or she. Where he or she see a problem, that he or she, the rich person, will see an opportunity. So they turn an opportunity into a problem. That's their habit. That's actually a good habit to have. So always adopt good habits. And you will also find out that most rich people, I'm not saying all, but most rich people get up early in the morning. By early, I'm referring to some of them get up real early. Some of them I know get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of them at 4, some of them at 5. Rarely have I heard rich people getting up at, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. And there are exceptions. The rich people that I know over here that work late hours. I know some rich people here working late hours. They're working till 12 midnight, 1 o'clock 1 o'clock past midnight. Those rich people, those who have businesses and they open them for late hours, they do sleep in late. They sleep late and then they get up late. So, for instance, one of my friends, her family is very rich. She goes to bed pretty late, sometimes 1 o'clock. But she gets up at 3 o'clock, mind you. That's very surprising, isn't it? She gets up at 3, and sometimes I'm up at 3 o'clock, and she'll come online and ping me with a hi or a hello or something, and I'll tell her, haven't you gone to bed yet? And she'll be like, no, I've got up to pray. So they'll get up and do some prayer in the morning at 3, between 3 and 4, 3:30, between 3 to 4, and then they will go to bed. And then when she goes to bed, I asked her, I said, what time do you get up? And she said, I get up around 11 a.m. in the morning. So some of the rich people, they do get up late. But then they sleep very late. And they still get up at 3 a.m., by the way. Still get up at 3 a.m. to do their early morning prayer. It's like we have a prayer at midnight. So we can do that prayer at midnight or just after midnight, and they actually do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I encourage my students to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I do encourage my students to do that. And I encourage my students to not only get up at 3, but do your scripting at 3 a.m. And then do your scripting. Maybe it takes you 15 minutes, maybe it takes you 30 minutes. Then, after you do your scripting, you just keep it by your bedside. Keep your copy, your pen by your bedside. Do your scripting and then go back to bed. Of course, I'm not saying to stay up. Go back to bed, and then whatever hour you have to get up for your job, whether that's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, you get up and then get ready and go to work. That means you don't have to do scripting at 7 a.m. You can do it at 3, get it done, dusted, and then you go to bed. That'd be wonderful, okay? So that's how I encourage my students to do that. Similarly, that's a good habit, by the way. Rich people or people who become rich, they have good habits. So adopt good habits. The other habit that you want to adopt is every day before you go to bed, you want to do the imagination. You want to imagine a scene of you coming into a large sum of money, and you run that scene for maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but you loop that scene like like you're going to the bank, or perhaps you're not in the bank, perhaps you are just opening up you're seeing large amounts of money in your account, because what you do is you're opening up your telephone app and you see that you have a large bank balance, whatever that bank balance you desire. You see it there and you see it increasing, the numbers going up, and that's one way of imagining it. And then you can repeat that, loop that scene 10-15 times before you go to bed. The other thing I encourage you to do before you go to bed is to read your affirmations. The affirmations you wrote at 3 a.m. Before you go to bed, read those affirmations at least 10 times each. Read them and then go to bed. Or you may want to run the tapping session I gave you, the EFT session. Run that session before you go to bed. And within that session, you're going to be doing the affirmation a number of times anyway. And so that will really help you in terms of making you financially independent. Those of you seeking jobs, you should be during the day and during the evening and during the afternoon, 3 times a day. You should be 3 times a day sitting down and imagining that you already have the job. You're already at work. You are not that you are starting the job, that you're already there. You've been working for 6 months, and the manager is talking to you, and the manager is saying to you, Mr. So-and-so, thank you for working for us. We are very happy to have you, and you've done remarkable in the projects that we gave you, and we are very happy with your conduct. Something to that effect. He, shakes your hand. He gives you maybe some kind of a gift, maybe a bottle of wine, maybe a box of chocolates, and he says, here is a gift from us, for your performance is great. And it could be even during the Christmas time. You've been working for them for a whole year. You're looking ahead. You're working for them for a whole year, and it's Christmas time, and they're giving you a bottle of wine and chocolates and saying thank you. You've been a remarkable worker. You have been greatly helping us in our business, and we are looking forward to continue to work with you. Another fine year coming up, and this year was we had many projects, and you did well. So that's what you want to look at. You want to look at the end where you're already working into your new job, and your manager is congratulating you, and he's handing you the Christmas bonus, and he's saying that here is a Christmas bonus letter. He's handing you the letter, and that you'll get your Christmas bonus in your checking account or your savings account or current account, whatever that is. That's how you want to imagine getting your job. If you can successfully imagine it, you want to loop that scene 10-15 times, and then you want to go, you want to do that 3 times a day. And then you go to, in the evening, you do it before you go to bed. 3 times a day, okay? Those of you seeking employment. And if you can do that, then you can make it success for yourself. And I also spoke about speaking your affirmations robotically. For, I would chunk out 15 minutes a piece, 4 15-minute slots, 1 hour. Take 1 hour out and rampage your affirmation, whatever it is you want. It could be a salary, it could be a car, it could be a home, whatever, sum of money. I would encourage you to just go for a sum of money. If you go for a sum of money, then you can go get your car or whatever else you need in one. In other words, instead of doing a house, car, telephone, laptop, just do one for money, and the money gets all. Money gets your apartment, money gets your car, money gets your laptop, your phone, etc. So just do one. Just estimate what kind of money you need to acquire all those things, for you to have spare money in the bank as well. That's why I encourage you to at least go for $5 million, maybe $3 million, maybe $5 million, and maybe $10 million. And I encourage you to go with these amounts, because these amounts will put you into the category of a rich person, and also you'll be able to afford get your own apartment, get your car, and have some money in the bank and invest the money too. So it'll put you in the right camp. But it's about habits. If you adopt the habits I'm teaching you, if you do what I'm telling you every day, you will get there. This is what the chapter of Genesis 37 is telling us, habits. The chapter is telling us that although Joseph had one bad habit, but he had other great habits. What was the great habits? Well, he was a dreamer. He constantly visualized. What's a dreamer? He's visualizing all the time. He was visualizing all the time. But the only bad habit that he had that netted him into a problem was being negative about his brothers and giving the negative report to his dad about his brothers. That's the only bad part that he had, and that bad part that he had actually landed him in trouble down the road. So take out the bad habits from your lives and adopt the good habit. What was his good habit? His good habit was he was a dreamer. So dream good dreams. Think good. Visualize good. Think big. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. Secondly, I want to encourage you, and I want you to caution you about this thing about being perfect. Listen, we didn't come here to be perfect. Get this out of your head. This is simply society bull sugar. That's what it is. It's bull sugar. It's not true. We did not come here to be perfect. We come here to have progress. You want to make progress every day in your life. You're not here for perfection, by the way. If God wanted to keep you perfect, He would have kept you in the garden without clothes, okay? But you're not in the garden either. So you come out of the garden. all those, the veil has been lifted. You are here every day to make progress in your life. Progress is better than perfection. Progress is better than perfection. Progress is better than perfection. Keep that in your mind. If your life is progressing, then you are becoming a better person every day. So you want to progress. That's where you want to be. So I want to encourage you in that. Progress in your life. Continue to progress. And we also see in this chapter, in verse 15, now a certain man found him, and there he was wandering in a field. And by the way, this certain man, you know who this certain man was? This certain man was the angel Gabriel. He appeared in a man's form, and he was wandering in the field. In other words, he's come to test Joseph out, and he's saying, and the man asked him, saying, "What are you seeking?" And so he said, "I'm seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding their flocks." So Joseph finds this angel, Gabriel, as a man, and Joseph asks him, or he asked Joseph, "Who are you looking for?" And Joseph says, "I'm looking for my brothers, and they are feeding the flocks." And the man said, now imagine, this is no ordinary man, this is the angel, because you might meet angels unknowingly. And it says, "They have departed from here, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.' So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan." Now, you might think, now Dothan, by the way, is a town in the north of Israel, in Samaria. So, there's some interesting thing in this. An angel speaks to Joseph, and Joseph is going to Samaria in the north. What did I just say to my students who gave them a task to do, a ritual? I said, look to the north. And look where Dothan is. Dothan is in the north, in Samaria. Why the north? Because the north is where our altar faced. And the north is also where God's throne is. That's where God's throne dwells. That's why the north is important. And we were also asked, when we used to have the temple and the tabernacle, we were asked to put the blood on the north side of the wall of the altar. So the north side is very important side. Now the south side is where the temple was. In actuality of the land of Israel, the south was where the temple was situated. But the north is an area, the principal area of wealth, of abundance, of God's throne, and so on and so forth. And it's also the area of your head. That is the area north. Okay? And how do you imagine? You use your head. And what is Joseph did? He used his head to dream. And what I'm asking you to do is use your head to imagine. Use your head to dream. Dream good dreams. Dream every day. Be a good dreamer and you'll do well. So this is very important. And Joseph, therefore, Joseph meets this angel, and the angel asks him, he says, "What are you seeking?" And Joseph says, "I'm seeking my brothers." And the man said, "They are not here, they're in the north." So it says in verse 18, when they saw him afar off, even before he came near them, they conspired against him to kill him. In other words, they were already conspiring against Joseph. So they said to one another, "Look, this master of dreams is coming." In other words, they knew he was a good dreamer. They use the word here in Hebrew, halazeh. This is a word, it's a derogatory word which Joseph's brothers used against him. It's not a common word. Basically, it's a word used in a hateful way against him. And the interesting part is when the angel says, "What are you seeking?" The angel is not asking him, "Who are you looking for?" See, most people read it like he's saying, "Who are you looking for?" He's not saying that. He's not saying, "Who are you looking for?" The angel is basically telling him, "Why are you going there?" Angel is actually asking him, "Why are you going there?" Because the angel already knew that the brothers were plotting against him to kill him. The angel is actually warning him, why are you going there? And Joseph, taking it literally, saying, oh, I'm looking for my brothers. And then the man being angel Gabriel, he said, they have departed from here. They have departed from here. Okay? For I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. So, a very interesting scenario. Very interesting scenario. This is where they capture Joseph. They, take his coat and they put goat's blood on it. And then also this is where Joseph is lifted up and is sold to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And they took Joseph to Mitzrayim. They took him to Egypt. This is where all these things happen. So, Joseph's dreams that he kept dreaming were now going to become a reality. So there was a painful patch. This painful patch was where he was going to be captured. He's going to be stripped. His coat was going to be stripped. He's going to be sold. Not nice. He didn't like that. Nobody would like it. But he didn't know that the end result was that he would go to Egypt and he would become very famous one day. So yes, you might be going through a patch. You might be going through a real hard patch. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you lost your wife, your girlfriend. Maybe you lost a son or a daughter. Maybe you got divorced from a husband or wife, and you're going through a rough patch and you're saying, what the hell, what's happening to me? Why am I having all these problems? But what you don't realize that God is about to bless you tremendously. He's taking you through a rough patch, just as he took Joseph. And what happened? Joseph was going to be tremendously blessed at the end of it. And he was going to become a ruler of Egypt. He was going to become number 2. But he had to go through the rough patch. So some of you are going through the rough patch. Don't fret. Don't be upset. It is what I call a bridge of incidents. It's a bridge to take you through this rough patch to land you with a blessing in the end. Now, some of you who lost your job, you're going to end up with better jobs, better salaries. Your present jobs wouldn't have given you that. They wouldn't raise your salary to double or maybe even 50%. They wouldn't raise your salary 50%. The most they'll give you, if they did, they would have given you maybe a 5% raise or a 10% raise. But they would not say to you, oh, okay, here you go, we're going to raise your salary to 50%, 70%, 80%, 100%. No, they wouldn't. So you would have been stuck in a rut, and you would have been like chugging along and chuck, and nothing changes, right? But now that suddenly you lose your job, and you're like, what the heck's going on? Why did I lose my job? Well, you lost your job to get a better job. God is going to bless you tremendously. God's going to give you a better job. God's going to give you a better salary, better environment. So continue to look for that better job. Continue to see in your imagination. Continue to speak the right words about that job. Instead of saying, oh, what the hell happened to me? Why did I lose my job? Instead of being negative, oh, what am I going to do? We're not going to pay my rent. No, instead of doing all of that, you start doing the reverse. What do? I have a new job. You start saying to yourself, and that's kind of, what I will recommend to my students who are going through struggles. I would say that I have a job then paying whatever the salary you desire. I have a job paying XYZ, whatever salary. That's what you're going to rampage. You're going to rampage. I have a new job paying me over $100,000. Okay, how's about that? I have a new job paying over $100,000, or more than that. If you want more than if you want a particular sum, 150,000, maybe 200,000. I have a new job paying me $150,000. I have a new job paying $150,000. I have a new job paying $150,000. Keep repeating, keep speaking it. Keep speaking positivity into the air. Keep speaking it. And you are going to land that new job. God is going to open the door and God is going to bless you tremendously. Those of you facing difficulty, with a girlfriend or a wife that's, dropped you or divorced you, or a husband's divorced you, or something like that, and maybe, you were not right fit, then do you not think that God did that so that you could get a better, a more compatible, mature partner, a better spouse? That is what that is for. Now, what do? You look for that better spouse. You simply thank God and you say, I thank you, Abba. I thank you for all that you do for me. I look forward to my new spouse, partner. And you can say, I have a wonderful wife. I have a wonderful, or you could say, I have a wonderful loving wife, if you're looking for a wife. If it's a husband, I have a wonderful loving husband. Continue to say it. I have a wonderful loving husband who takes care of me, who caters to all my needs. Okay? I have a wonderful spouse. I have a wonderful wife who takes care of me. She's loving and she takes care of all my needs. Sounds a little long. You can compress it, you can shorten it a little, but you can speak it in the air. Continue to rampage on that, and you will get your wonderful wife or wonderful husband. Whatever situation you are in, you can turn it around. Now, what if you say, what if, Rabbi, I don't want to lose my job. I lost my job, but I don't want to lose it. I still want to work there. Okay, you can turn it around. You can say to the effect of, I have been reinstated back to work immediately. I have been reinstated back to work immediately, and continue to speak it. And you will get reinstated back to your job. If you want to stay there and you don't want to move on, and you feel that that is the right place for you, then sure. God's not going to force you to the next place. God is always there to bless you. God is always there to make your life easy. So if you want to do that, you can say, I have been reinstated to my job with immediate effect. And just imagine, close your eyes and look and see that your manager, you know who your manager is, you know his name, and he's shaking hands with you saying, welcome back, Mr. So-and-so. We've decided to reinstate you, and you're actually looking past that now. You can go past that, and you can see that Christmas is here, and New Year's upon us, and the manager is saying, we are happy to have you back, so and so, and here is your your Christmas gift, wine and chocolates. So they're handing you a Christmas gift, wine and chocolates, and they're telling you, we are happy to have you back. That's it. You just see that. They're saying, we're happy to have you back. Here's your Christmas gift. And so you continue to see that, and you continue to speak that I have been reinstated back to work. And if you want to keep in the job, then rampage it. What's more important? Remember what I told you. Good habits. Be positive, not be negative. Be positive about it. Have good habits. When you have good habits and when you're positive about it, you will land back your job, or you land a new job. If for a husband, for a spouse, for a wife, those of you struggling, suffering in that area, you will land back a handsome man, or a pretty woman, not a handsome woman, a pretty woman, and a loving woman, a loving wife, or a loving husband, and somebody who understands you, and somebody who is sympathetic to your needs. Those are the things you can imagine, and you will get them. Okay? So don't fret, don't be upset. God doesn't take us through these things to punish us. You're not being punished. It's not a punishment. It is something that you're going through. Is a bridge of incidents. You've been asking for a great job. You've been asking for a better salary. You've been praying for it. Now the time has come. The time has come to do all that. So God is going to bless you with that. And therefore I say that, not to make the lecture too long, I encourage you to let me just double check that the recording is going. Otherwise we're going to have a problem. There's no recording over here. Let's see. Where are we? Have I been just speaking to myself, or did I actually record it? Okay, well, looks like I may have been just talking to myself. If I've been talking to myself, well, never mind. We will record this again. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. Have a wonderful Shabbat, and Shabbat Shalom to you.